Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Incite-Ful podcast. We have an amazing guest on with us today. I'll first tell you my experience with Amber, and then I'll read her little mini bio, and we'll get into it. When I was launching Profit First for Micro Gyms, I actually worked with Amber. She helped me launch that book, and we have since sold more than 4,000 copies, which is pretty cool because the micro gym industry that the book is for is only like 70,000 big. And I remember Amber might share some experience with this, or maybe she won't. I don't know. It depends on how much she wants to embarrass me. But she's almost a psychologist for me during that time period of launching the book and
what were your
writing it.
goals again? Yeah.
So Amber is amazing. I think you guys are in for a treat. But let me give you a little bit more of her background.
Thank you.
Amber is a books and business strategist, multi-bestselling author, speaker, and founder of NGNG Enterprises, which stands for No Guts, No Glory. She's an Inc. 5000 top marketing agency. She's helped thousands of entrepreneurs align their business with their core talents and their desires to naturally scale revenue and impact. Sounds good, right? She does this by implementing some customized marketing strategies, launching best-selling books. I think you've had more than 1,000 now, you might have said, and growing an engaged following that converts. So she's the author. Her latest book is Infinite Impact, which I'm terrible because I have it at my house and I should have brought it.
Hey, it's okay if you want to admit you keep it by your bedside because it means that much to you.
Exactly.
So you're not alone of people that do that.
Yeah. And she's also co-written a book with her son, a children's book.
The Long Forest Trail. We just launched that in November of 2023. We already have 7,000 copies in circulation now through silent auctions. We raised $30,000 to then buy author copies of the book to give to like Boys and Girls Club and nonprofit organizations in Colorado. And it's all about creating human connection and connection with nature. So it's like this very conscious, lovable book that a 7-year-old wrote with a little help from Mom, but I didn't help him that much. This was like kid stuff for sure.
So let's start with, I might be a softball. I don't know. It could be a hardball. We'll just get into it, Amber.
I'm up for anything, John. Go for it.
So you write a lot about staying in alignment. And I feel like nowadays it's almost a cliche phrase. So what do you mean by alignment?
Yeah. Well, I think that most entrepreneurs comment. Actually, let me start over by saying that where this all came from is me asking the question of the thousands of calls I've had in the last almost 2 decades, what do all those entrepreneurs have in common? Well, they were out of alignment. So what does that mean? It can look like a lot of different things, but a lot of times people who come to me say, I really have this grand mission to impact all of these people, but I hate social media. I don't want to be an influencer. I don't like doing video. I don't want to do those things. And I'm like, okay. Or they'll say, Amber, what do you think my goals should be? And I'm thinking, what? Like, you need to come up with your own goals. And then I'm the strategist that helps you achieve them quickly. And so these are just some of the signs that people are out of alignment. And what's happening is entrepreneurs give away their power to others because they don't know where their why and vision is really coming from. Like their vision is usually, I want to help 10 million people in the world. And it's just this like nefarious goal because they thought that, I believe that they're passionate about it, but I also think there's this gap of they really don't know how on earth they're ever going to achieve that. And maybe they're not even like sure that they're going to achieve it, but it sounds like a nice goal. I hear this a lot. And so I'm proposing that through a series of 4 very simple exercises, we can actually get to the root of the truth of who you are and what you are uniquely qualified to bring to the world in a way that feels natural to you, not where you feel like you have to dread it and it's hard and I have to hustle and force it and push it and grind through it, but something where it just naturally lights you up. So yes, there's a lot of people, live your passion, live your purpose, rah, rah. I'm actually like trying not to be a cheerleader about it, but just simply let's just cut the BS. Let's cut down to the absolute root of it and look at some of your life experiences and what you're really here to say and do. And once you have that information, now you can measure all other decisions by what that knowledge is. You can't unsee it. The reality is that no one's just ever really guided us to that route in this way, unless you're like in therapy for 3 decades or you've taken, drugs to get there perhaps. But like, this is a very simple thing you can do on a plane ride or on a Sunday morning. And it informs your marketing strategies. It informs your sales model. It helps the whole office culture work in harmony. And that's how you can scale revenue and impact, just again, in a more natural way. So that's really what I'm talking about.
You're saying it's a possibility people do things in their business and those actions aren't actually coordinated with what they really want to get out of life or their business. And maybe they don't even know what they want to get out of it, which makes it even worse because it's possible their actions are even taking them on the opposite, like whatever they really want to do to be happy.
But they don't know what to do next with that information. And then they panic because they don't know what they don't know. So then they hire a marketing agency and they're like, well, I just want to help people overcome their trauma, but I don't really know how to do it. So here, take all of my power and whatever you think should happen is what we'll do. And so the marketing agency is like, well, I don't really know what that means, but okay, I'll take your money. And so they actually try. But the problem is that the marketing agency doesn't understand the root motivators, stories, beliefs, and values that could light your cause on fire for the world. So the marketing agency just recycles some cookie cutter content that they're using for 18 other clients until you realize one day that it's not working for you. And then you blame the marketing agency. Now you're out tens of thousands of dollars and you're pissed off and you're no further ahead. And then you don't know what else to do. So you hire another marketing agency and go through it again. When really, if you could just do the simple work to get into alignment up front and then literally hand the documented answers over to the marketing agency, they would have everything that they need to successfully operate what they know and do so that you actually get results. But the whole industry is skewed, man. And so I see this now. And listen, 17 years of thousands and thousands of calls and people and hearing about all of this over and over again before I woke up and saw the pattern and then could quickly figure out how to overcome all of this for entrepreneurs. So now I just need help from good people like you, John, so that I can get the word out and help more people. So thanks for letting me be here.
So I want to get into maybe a summary of what those 4 things are so our audience can hear what that is. But I'm just thinking through that alignment thing. Is there anything going on in today's environment that makes it like being in alignment more crucial than it's ever been?
Yes, definitely. It's difficult for me to see a lot of the conversation that's happening online right now because people blame this or that, or they think it's the economy or the election, but there's actually like a much bigger story that's being told right now. And when you look back on 2019, before the pandemic hit, a lot of us were living the life, but we were kind of in autopilot. Like we were busy, our lives were full, but we were still pretty optimistic and just kind of going through the motions. But when the pandemic hit, right on top of all of that election stuff, the controversies that were flying, we were in isolation. The world was changing. We panicked. We didn't know what was going on. We were alone and started getting this deep mistrust in humanity. Okay. Then by the time you fast forward to 2022, we sort of slipped back into a new normal. But what happened was that mistrust and that insecurity just got shoved down and suppressed, and now we avoid it. And we just don't talk about it with other people because it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good inside. So a lot of people just get busier and pile more stuff on out of avoidance and resistance because what the heck else are we going to do with it anyway? But then when AI surfaced, whoa, it was like an extreme accelerator for a lot of what was going on with the average consumer out there. So now you have the rise of misinformation and deep fakes. You have complete disillusionment online. You don't know what's real or not real. And you're seeing people that are producing video content and it's not actually them. And psychologically, it's really mind bending for people. And it's creating this disassociation and paranoia. But again, we're not talking about it because we're just waiting to see what happens as we go on this conveyor belt towards the election, hoping it's going to be okay. And listen, I'm not even a doom and gloom person. I'm very optimistic, but I also am not blind to the way that a lot of people are feeling and behaving out there. Now, the other side of the coin is that the sexy marketing headline that we were taught to, do in our copywriting and on social media, well, guess what? It's not working anymore because people don't trust you. And you're trying to overcome it by being the nice guy or gal on social media, but people don't even know if that's the real you or if it's an avatar. So they can't even trust that anymore. So now what are we going to do as entrepreneurs? How do you overcome the average person's emotional guidance signal that's innately built in all of us that says, danger, I don't trust anyone? That's why we're seeing a shift in so many businesses, and several are starting to collapse. The ones that they don't really know what they're doing, and they don't have good systems or leadership, like those are starting to drop like flies. The rest of us, it hasn't maybe hit us as much yet, but it doesn't mean we're out of the woods. There was a study that was done, it was called the Spain Scale Research Study, where they put 25,000 people, they tested 25,000 people on what emotion they feel the strongest. Some people thought, oh, it's going to be love. And other people thought, no, it's going to be fear. And actually, the emotion that human beings feel the strongest is authenticity. So what that means, John, is when you are in front of somebody who is just open, fully self-expressed, speaking with conviction, inside of us, our emotional guidance system, we innately trust that conviction, and it kind of breaks through this barrier of mistrust. And so if you get into alignment and you can trust yourself and speak from that place, because John, people don't trust themselves. It's like, I get so many clients that say, well, Amber, what do you think I should title my book? Well, Amber, what should my goals be? Well, Amber, what should I charge? Well, Amber, what should I say? Well, I'll just hire a ghostwriter. I'll just hire a social media person. That's wrong. Now is the time for the entrepreneur to rise up and share their honest voice with the world. When you do that through social media, even in the world of AI and all the crap that's going on, people will hear you and feel you in almost an intuitive sense, and they will innately trust you and move forward with you because they don't know what else to do. And that's going to give the entrepreneur the competitive advantage, especially in the next year.
There is a lot to unpack there, Amber.
I know. You got to get the book, everyone. Get the book.
Yeah. So going back even to the alignment thing, I mean, if I'm thinking through this, because I've seen this with our own clients, like we reach a point of decision fatigue, and a lot of times it's because we wasted our decision muscle on pretty frivolous, inconsequential decisions, because we know, like, oh, if I have to decide what direction I want to take my business, or what I want to write about, or what message is in me to share with the world, that's like a deeper consequence. Like, there's going to be a lot more, so we put it off. And then when we do get to it, we become fatigued. And then you just throw in what you just explained with the environment the way it is, where, man, if I don't know what I'm going to do, look at all the influences that are out there that probably are taking me down a path that is for sure out of alignment with what I do. That's scary. Yes. Read her book, Infinite Impact. She's going to go into a lot more detail on the 4 things that she can summarize for us here, but there's still a couple other things to talk about. I mean, you're talking about fake things. I won't mention who it was about, but there had been a video going around of a well-known person on stage. It looks like they went to the bathroom in their pants on stage. Some people who loved that narrative jumped on it. And then luckily, there's a few people out there who are trying to provide information, like just unbiased factual information. And they showed the full video, and it shows that they actually edited out the chair that the person was sitting in or going to sit in, and the person just didn't necessarily know if they should sit down or not. Talk about misinformation, right? It's ridiculous. And you think about the media channels that are out there, like all of them are biased.
It was just a couple months ago that there was that viral reporting that President Biden called all of the citizens, where was it, in New Hampshire, and said, don't go to the voting polls today. And it was all AI driven. It wasn't actually President Biden. So it drastically skewed election results. Like, oh my goodness. I mean, yeah.
How are we supposed to know? Like, right. And there's no laws on things like that. And currently, whoever created that fake video isn't going to get punished, just like when politicians lie in their campaigns about what they're going to do, and then they don't do it and they do the opposite. Like, no one's holding anyone accountable.
This is why I'll tell you what I am doing in my business. And this is legit transparency, y'all, because the business model that I had a year and a half ago, I no longer have. And as John mentioned, okay, I had a team of 37, just hit Inc. 5,000. I had a web department, a book launch department. I had all this stuff going on, and I saw what was coming. Because as entrepreneurs, I do think that we have a special skill to sort of see ahead and project. Especially, I've been developing that skill as much as I can throughout my whole career. And so I saw that if I don't make a move now, my business is going to collapse. And so for the last year and a half, I have completely shifted my business model. I had to scale down my team and my client base. I moved into a different direction now with the book. I have a certification where guides are wanting to do alignment sessions as feeders into services like yours, John, or memberships or whatever it is, because they're seeing if they can get their clients into alignment, it provides a better outcome in the service that they are onboarding into. And so all to say that for me, it's strength in numbers. And I would encourage everybody else listening to think of it that way too, because as entrepreneurs, we're sort of like alone on our island doing our thing and hustling and grinding. And you have such tunnel vision focusing on the problems that never end inside of your business. So how can you possibly look up to think about aligning with other people and integrating your business into other businesses? Like, forget it. I just need a glass of wine at the end of the day, or what I need to run, whatever people do. But I'm telling you that with everything that's going on right now, your two best moves really are to get into alignment so you can market and sell authentically, not as a cliche term, but like legitimately it will save your business. And the second thing is strength in numbers. So that's going to look like something different for everybody listening. And that's the value in hiring a strategist like myself or whomever else. There's a bunch of strategists out there, but you need somebody who can understand your unique set of constraints, your budget, your cash flow, your team, your schedule, what makes you tick, what makes you fulfilled, etc. That also understands what's happening in the world right now so that they can strategize any tweaks that you need to make to your business model as a whole, your marketing and your sales, but also get you positioned with other companies so that if you are aligned with a cluster of 3 companies or 10 companies, then you're going to be a lot safer than the solo guy who's over there just doing his own law firm or his own gym by himself. There's those 2 things I think will help you weather what's ahead.
Good. Great. I want to talk about authenticity real quick before we jump to your summary of what those 4 things are. Because you said the old way of marketing isn't working. The sexy headlines, right? Like, hey, how do I clickbait, right? How do I get that? People are very untrusting now. And then you said the best way to market right now is to be authentic. Yeah. So first question about that is, what if my authenticity is going to polarize people? And now maybe for someone like me, I probably lean more towards where my true authentic self is going to wake up the woke culture and they're going to be mad at me. Cancel culture is going to want to cancel me for some reason. Like what do you do in that scenario? Because I don't want to deal with mean people.
I know. I know. And maybe we'll get to a point where there's really not much that you can do about it one way or another. But I have noticed that some of this has diffused down a bit, especially for people that are in alignment. So I would say, John, that it's important that we understand why we are about to say what we're going to say. Perhaps you don't have to be so polarizing in your message unless there's a very specific reason why that's going to benefit your company. So you can still have those feelings and be in alignment, and you can still not poke the bear too, right? Or there is this shift that's been happening really since 2020 where people are finding their people. You saw this when in like 2021, everyone started moving, like everyone was moving to Florida, and then they were moving to Canada or to California, and then they were moving to Austin. It was like, because we were trying to find our tribe, and there was such divisiveness. And so really, I think when you're in alignment, part of that, and we'll go into the 4 things, but part of that is knowing your core values. When you're really in touch with your core values, it becomes the language that you use. So I'm being perfectly self-expressed right now, but I'm also not telling you my personal opinions about politics and religion, because I would never do that, because I think that is irrelevant to this conversation. Though I'm not being inauthentic, it's just that I'm being aware of my audience and where I am in the world right now. But I'm also using very specific language right now that's true for me. And there will be some people listening right now that might think, who the hell is this chick? I can't stand her. Fine, great. That's awesome. You're not my people. That's okay. Like, bless you. It's all good. We can both exist in the world in harmony. But then there are going to be people, John, that can't get enough of it because they don't hear this anywhere else and they feel like they finally belong. Those are my people. And what happens is I become this natural attractor beam for my people because I'm living in congruence. And they are so starving for congruence themselves, they can't help but move forward. So honestly, John, in this crazy world that we're living in, when I look at my reality, I have such an overabundance of love, integrity, respect, kindness. I don't get any of what you just described, but it's because that's not what I'm projecting in the world either.
That's interesting.
That help?
That's good. Yeah, it helps. So if I'm going to summarize in my own words, one thing I've always known is vanilla is actually never great. Don't do vanilla marketing.
Amen.
Messages don't need to be vanilla. With our core values, as you described them, we are naturally going to polarize people.
Yes.
We just don't have to go out of our way
Yes.
to be polarizing against things that are completely irrelevant
Yes.
to what we do as a business.
Yes.
We recently had an issue in our company where there was one of those pretty hot topics going on right now that's very polarizing and completely irrelevant to tax services and helping our clients save money. And so I basically put out a message as the leader of the company and said, we don't need to actually talk about this in our company because you have one group who completely is opposite in their feelings about this issue as another group that both exist within our company. And we just don't need to go out of our way to like make each other mad that we have different beliefs on that specific issue. Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't change the tax code. It doesn't how we all need to be polite to our clients. It doesn't matter us like making sure we're doing what the client's paying for. So,
well, and I celebrate you because, and I had a very memorable moment like that in my company at one point too. And it's very stressful because you're battling, will people leave? Will they sue? Will they this? Will they that? Will they post on social media or bad reviews? And like what you just recognize the repercussions of any decision that you make. And it is a very, very difficult place to navigate, but it sounds to me like you tapped into what was true for you and you led from there. And that is exactly being in alignment, being self-expressed and not poking the bear, but leading from a place of strength and empowerment. And usually that is going to naturally reorganize the universe. So what will happen is over the next 6 months, some people will leave, other people will do this. And then all of a sudden, this new harmony comes in to match what you just projected out, that energy. So celebrate it. Well done.
Great. Thanks. Okay. I think we've teased them long enough, Amber.
Okay.
What are some of these, what are the quick 4 things people could do to make sure that they are aligning their actions with who they are?
Yeah. Okay. So you're just going to have to trust me and go with me for a moment. Okay. So there are these 4 very common business pillars that have been taught forever. Avatar, who is my ideal client, vision, why, and values. That's how you get into alignment. So you're going to think, well, Amber, been there, done that, hired the consultant, got the badge, like, don't care. Let's move on. But the challenge is, John, that people didn't go deep enough and get specific enough within those pillars. And I also argue or position that there's a different way of looking at why that was a critical missing piece to the overall puzzle. So when we're looking at avatar, and I'll quickly go through the differences so you understand, but when you look at avatar, people will say, yeah, did the avatar. My audience is 35 to 65. Some are married, some are divorced. I've got stay-at-home moms and employees who are retiring, people with kids, people with no kids. And my next question is, and you're marketing to all of those different people? That's what's wrong with your marketing. When instead, if you pick one person to market to, my person has always been Heather. And Heather, at the start of the journey, she's a stay-at-home mom. And then she, is lost herself and she's trying to find her way. She decides to get, some health and wellness. She starts a blog. And that's when she finds me. It wakens her up to what's inside of her and the opportunity. And then she kind of goes on and she dabbles with online subscriptions. Her husband is wondering how long he has to support this hobby of hers. She feels really misunderstood. I know what she's thinking about when she's folding laundry as she's listening to her kids on the floor and she's thinking in her mind, really disempowering thoughts. I know everything about that woman. That's who I built my business for all of these years. And guess what? 80% of my clients are very successful men. And that can be true because it's not so much about the woman. It's about what she's feeling. What is she thinking? Who is she in the world? And my clients and my community have a lot in common with Heather. So the more I zero in my marketing on her, the more the specificity of the language makes people activate and they think, oh my God, she gets me. I feel misunderstood, but I have a message that I want to get out into the world. And then they come right in because I'm speaking their language. So Avatar is a deep but fast and really fun exercise so that you get to the root of who the person is that you really want to serve. And it would surprise you. When we go into vision, like I said, most people's visions, like I want to help 10 million people, which is beautiful. I'm not knocking that. But I propose we start with a micro vision list. So that means once I know Heather, what are the very specific ways that I want to impact her? Well, I know that when she comes into my Zoom room, I want to give her a big, energetic, loving welcome. When she asks me how I am, I'm not going to just say, oh, I'm fine. How are you? I'm going to say, you know what? I will think about it in the moment of how am I actually doing? And I will surprise her and delight her. I will make sure that she smiles. I will make sure that she feels seen and valued. I will make sure that I'm the one that she can rely on, that I do what I say I'm going to do for her. And I have a whole very specific list of the ways that I want to impact Heather. And then the cool moment about this, John, is that when people are doing the exercise, they're like, well, I already am doing this. Exactly. So you are fulfilling your vision every single day. And that is so much more rewarding than eventually, hopefully by the time I die, I help 10 million people that I can't even track. So I guess I just won't ever know. Now, I guide you through how to get your bigger vision list, but instead of associating a number to it, my personal vision, for example, is to help individuals feel heard, seen, and valued. That is my vision in the world. For everything that I do, every conversation that I have, that is what I'm living for. When we move into why, what I found is that people say, oh, well, I have this big vision because I want to help people. That's my why. And I propose we go deeper than that, that if your vision is how I want to be in service to humanity, why is how is that in service to me as the giver? Now, a lot of entrepreneurs don't like looking at it that way because don't put the spotlight on me. It's about you. And they're deflecting because there's an avoidance usually when we make it about us. And that's something to be addressed and looked at. But really, if we can kind of cut through some of that and just get down to the root, the why is the exact of your vision. So my why is that when I go help John feel heard, seen, and valued, in return is I feel heard, seen, and valued, which fills an unmet need that I had for many years of my life. So now John and I are in a harmonious relationship. My company is operating in congruence because I'm very clear what my intention is and what I also receive so that I can show up and give more of that. The values piece is sort of once you're in alignment with avatar, vision, and why, and you can almost see just from that alone how that might shift your marketing strategy, how it might shift the way you sell, the way that you drive your culture with your team, the way that you offer a customer experience, right? I mean, if you really go with like, I want to help people feel heard, seen, and valued. Are we doing that in our onboarding? Are we doing that on a regular basis? And you can start asking these really important questions to see like, oh my gosh, I have been out of alignment. Like, of course it wasn't working. So that's what I mean. It's actually very simple. It's instantaneous, but the values is the last pillar, John. And that's really important because your values gives you sort of a decision-making filter to stay in alignment. So for example, if one of my values is unwavering excellence, and all of a sudden I step outside of that, or I see a team member has stepped outside of it, or a client has, or a friend has, or a parent has, whomever it is, when I step out of alignment with that, I recognize that I need to set a boundary or I need to do something about it because otherwise it threatens the company. And if I'm really here in service of this company and it's in service of me, I can't let the threats come in. So it actually allows us to sort of separate from the emotional attachment to those moments. And it becomes a guide so that we stay in alignment moving forward. So that all four of them kind of work together. I know that was a longer explanation than maybe you wanted, but it's really important people understand the difference.
No, it's great. That's exactly what I wanted. I love that because you're matching like, hey, as a business, our outward facing goal is this, but then I also need to match that is giving me fulfillment. Because at the end of the day, if you're the owner of your company and you don't have fulfillment, that purpose that you want to put out in the world is not going to be there.
You know, I talk to so many people, John, that like they have good companies, like they're successful. It's checking the boxes, right? But if they're really honest with themselves, they're a little burnt out, they're a little pissed off, and they just wish they could get off the hamster wheel in some way. But I'm here to be very clear about something. You do not have to blow your life up just to get into alignment. In most cases, I have found you just need little tweaks, right? Like I was just talking to a plastic surgeon 2 days ago, and he has an enormously successful practice. They're rolling in the wealth. Everybody wants to work with them, but he's got this itch, like he's getting a little antsy. And all he needs to do, John, is just have one little release of a pressure valve, one outside activity. And I said, you know what? All you need to do, based on everything that you've just told me in your alignment, start a 10-man group, just a group of 10 guys, and where you're swapping parenting and health and faith and relationship. And you come together like once a month in person and you share and you connect and you do cold plunges or saunas or whatever you guys are up to. And that alone, and he can monetize off of that so that he's just getting a little bit of a release. And now he's more in alignment because he's not fully in alignment with his practice. But it's not like he has to sell his practice and leave his wife and all of these crazy things. But you can take a baby step into alignment and then try that on for size. And then you'll see like, maybe I need something else to balance it out a little bit better. And then all of a sudden, like within a month or two, like you're there. So the key is just doing the exercises, which, by the way, for anybody that goes to infiniteimpactbook.com. If you scroll past the order form, it's about 40% down on the page, you'll see a gold button where you can get the full PDF of the book for free. There's no opt-in wall. You just get the PDF. And if you skip to part 2, you'll be able to do the exercises right now. So I encourage you to do it and just experiment with it, or do it with your wife or with your husband or with your kids. Are you kidding me? The value of giving that to them. So that's available to you just so that you do the work.
And we'll provide that in the show notes. That's very generous, Amber. Thank you. And I just love that you said that. I want to reconfirm for people, just because you're misaligned doesn't mean you have to make drastic changes. No. But like, I think people think that, and then they have regrets after because the change was a little bit too drastic.
Absolutely.
If the little change you make isn't enough, then make another little change. And, you know,
exactly.
Not saying there's not scenarios where you need a drastic change. People don't hate me for that, right?
Yes. We just don't need extreme thinking.
Yeah.
Right?
I think in most cases, though, the clients I've dealt with, it would have been a small tweak that was needed to get them to feel one.
Usually is.
So final words to you, Amber. Anything that I should have asked that I didn't, or like final words of wisdom you want to share with us?
Well, one thing comes to mind. In the back of the book, I admit that a guiding question that I've always had for my life is, who would you be proud to be? And I wish people would ask themselves that question a little bit more. Would I be proud to be the person that hits the snooze button when my alarm clock goes off in the morning? Would I be proud to be the person with a big gut? Would I be proud to be the person that has one drink too much at night, or says that to my son, or? And I think that can be a simple tool to help us get into alignment without some of the exercises, if you're not a believer in that just yet. But, you know, I think in general, the calling for humanity is just to live true to you, go your own way. And we have not been taught to do that. We've been taught to do what other people are doing, model success, right? But I don't know that there are that many models for success at the moment. So I'm encouraging entrepreneurs to go out and create a new model that other people can start to look to and make a positive shift in their lives. So I'm just so thankful for anybody that is still listening to this episode that understands where we're headed and, you know, connected with this message. I'd love to hear any feedback. I'm a very conversational relationship person, so you can reach out anytime, but I'm just happy that I got the chance to talk today, John. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here. And everyone, as always, you know, I like to tie things to profitability if I can. And sometimes things have formulas like, ROI on labor cost and things like that.
Totally.
I've worked with Amber and I've done this work in my life, and I can tell you there's no formula, but you will be more profitable. Your business will have actual more cash profit. 100%. And the other things that add to profit is not always just a number. Your life will be blessed if you can figure this stuff out for yourself. So thanks everyone for your time. And remember, profit is a choice. Have the courage and wisdom to choose it.